where it usually is along the bottom. It's up high.
As you saw on the screen just a moment ago, 2 points between your two guys are top two on the leaderboard. Stefan Marinak leading it right now. Bobby Terrell only 2 points behind. CJ LeVere still a dark horse in this show, 38 points away. Rhett McBride, John Abbott round out your top five. Brian Harvey, Matt Lacrosse, Doug Wyatt, Doug Roth, David Lanza, and John Wilco round out your top 10 on the field. We talked about this, between ourselves before the race tonight. Kansas races unlike any other mile and a half out on the circuit they run. This is their only time they're running Kansas Speedway, but it's shaped very similar to like a Kentucky, but it doesn't run like a Kentucky or a Texas or anything else these drivers see here tonight. You hit it earlier on the head when we were talking about it. It drives very much like a Michigan. Walk us through what that looks like, Harry.
Yeah, this is very unique in the sense that it looks like a lot of tracks that the groove is sort of, you lift off the throttle, you really roll to the center, go to the bottom. But this is a track where sometimes you get that perfect storm of a certain tire combination and car combination. And for some reason, the grip is just way up high. And the car that these drivers are running tonight is really loose, too. So here you got to be really, really precise with your steering wheel inputs and your throttle inputs. These guys probably are not really going to have to brake, maybe a little bit very deep into a run, but it is kind of similar to a Michigan, the way they have to keep the momentum up. It's kind of like running Michigan with a really loose setup. They just got to watch that right rear tire and keep it straight.
And we saw a lot of guys in practice have trouble with that right rear tire, especially coming off of turns 1 and 2, transitioning onto the backstretch. They had a lot of trouble trying to figure out how to get on the backstretch, and more importantly, what to do to not overcorrect and overcompensate when they hit the very flat backstretch.
Yeah, absolutely. When the banking falls off, when you're already loose, it could just take the car and make it take a turn for the worse. So these guys have to be really careful to, just have it to where they don't have any unneeded wheel inputs where they could just upset the balance of the car, and it could come out from under you in a hurry here. Very difficult.
Last time they rode a similar mile and a half, Bobby Terrell and CJ LeVere were at the top of the leaderboard. Matt Lacrosse, Josh Cheney, Brian Harvey round out your top five, and that was at the last time they ran Kentucky. Now, that should give us some indication of what we're going to see here tonight, and for all intents and purposes, that's a good sign for Bobby Terrell and CJ LeVere. Both of them need to pick up points tonight for Terrell to get the points lead back once again, for LeVere to still have a shot at being one of the leaders and ultimately have the championship.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly anyone's game right now because CJ LeVere has been so consistent. The way Marinak and Terrell have run, each of those drivers have come out with a lot of speed at any one of these tracks, but we've seen CJ kind of creep up on them. And certainly last week, the race came down to fuel mileage right at the end. CJ LeVere able to grab some points towards the end of that one. Bobby Terrell leading most of the race, getting a pit road not a speeding penalty, but a pit road merge penalty. I know, Joe, you were out of town last week, but Bobby Terrell just merged too quickly, exiting the pits on his final pit stop, but he was going to lose the race on strategy anyway, and that just added a little bit it was just a little bit of salt to the wound, I guess you could say. So the points battle is certainly getting really, really tight in these final 6 races.
Looking back at last week, I was very, very disappointed to have missed that race, only because it looked like a barn burner. John Abbott, your administrator here at the Asphalt Assault B Series, led only 1 lap, but that was the lap he needed to win the race. Rhett McBride, CJ LeVere finished in your top 3. Bobby Terrell was 5th. Tequila Joe himself, Jose Gonzalez, finishes 6th. And then, your current points leader, Stefan Marinak, he's going to finish 7th. Only 4 cars finishing on the lead lap last week, which must have made for a very, very entertaining race I hated to miss.
Yeah, the top 4 were all cars who made it on fuel. But what happened to Rhett McBride, who finished 2nd, was he led 10 of the final 11 laps, and then Rhett McBride running out of gas on the final lap going down the backstretch. John Abbott was about a second and a half behind him, able to capitalize. And so John Abbott took home the win, and I believe his first win of the Asphalt Assault Series season. And so it was very interesting because Marinak, who was basically on the same strategy as Bobby Terrell, Terrell ends up finishing that race quite a bit behind Marinac due to that pit road merge penalty. In fact, looking at the sheet right now, I'm actually missing Terrell, but it was something like 10 positions, and Marinac made up quite a bit of points on him. And so going into this race, these drivers do not want to make the same mistakes.
And they can't afford to make the same mistakes. Let's just be very honest about that. They are running out of time in this season if they want to have a good chance at either winning the series if you're the top three, or having a good strong finish to end the season, to have those bragging rights, to have that momentum going into next season. A lot of these drivers here, you're going to see them next season. You're going to see them around iRacing. These guys are not going away. There's way too much talent concentrated here at the RSR Asphalt Assault B Series to be ignored in the iRacing simulation. 107 laps coming up here at Kansas Speedway, but before we do that, let's pause down for the Cactus Cuties as they present the national anthem of this great country.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The virtual Thunderbirds providing the flyover, and as always, the Cactus Cuties with their rendition of our national anthem. So 22 drivers will take the call tonight. Let's go ahead and take you down the starting grid for tonight's race. Up front will be the 24 of Stefan Marinac, 31.555. His qualifying time. Outside of him, the man who is currently the points leader, Bobby Terrell, 31.57. In for the 7 machine to start on the outside of row number 1.
In row number 2, we have our third place in points man, CJ Lovere, looking to make up some ground. Qualifies right behind the top 2 in points in third. And alongside of him, we've got Jose Gonzalez.
Row number 3 belongs to Chad Coleman in the number 6 machine, starting 5th. Outside of him, the 33 of Dave Lanza starts 6th.
Starting 7th will be the 15 of Rhett McBride, last week's second place finisher. Starting 8th, the 99, Josh Cheney.
Stephen Maddox will start on the inside of row number 5 in the 11 machine. Outside of him, the 66 of Brian Harvey starts 10th.
In row number 6, we've got the number 3 of Barry Hines, and alongside of him, the triple 6, Augusto Gabaldoni.
John Ayers will start 13th in the 09 machine. Outside of him, Nathan Bowers in 03 starts 14th.
Starting 15th will be the 34 of Mike Shelton. He was a fast car in practice. Outside of him will be the number 18 of Hollis Vanderloon.
Martin Turnmeyer Jr. starts 17th. Douglas Wyatt 18th. Randall Watkins 19th. John Wilco 20th. Frank Coons 21st. Doug Roth in the 43 22nd. None of these drivers electing to take time tonight, and that will round out your 22 drivers who will start the field. Correction on my part, it is Stefan Marinak starting first, your points leader. Bobby Terrell trails him by 2 points. I was looking at the wrong sheet that the intern handed me incorrectly. What do we got to do to get good help around here, Harry?
Oh, free help is hard to come by, am I right?
You don't have to remind me twice.
Yeah.
So Stefan Marinak, Bobby Terrell, first and second in points, start first and second on this field, and it wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing some fireworks fly early in the race tonight.
Yeah, this could go either way, because I tell you what, you look at the front row, both of these drivers, not only have they been the class of the field in general, but I think they really show their muscle on these bigger racetracks. And this is a big racetrack that we've never seen this season. First time Kansas, and I tell you, it takes a set of skills all on its own as the pace car comes down pit road, and we're about to go green.
Stefan Marinak will start this field early, and he wastes no time getting his move on. He jumps like a shot. Clean start through the field. Now the big question, though, what happens when they go through turns 1 and 2, where we have Salt goes to have so much trouble during the practice session of this race. 24-7 goes single file behind them. Chad Coleman immediately under fire from David Lanza. They decide to go back single file. Behind them, it's a 2-car battle between the 15 of Rhett McBride, the 99 of Josh Chaney. Josh Chaney wastes no time. He gets around the 15. Everyone else single file through this field all the way back to the 666. That's Augusto Gavaldini. He's now under fire for the 09 and the 34.
Yeah, Augusto running that high side in that 666. Excuse me, running above the number 09 of John Ehlers. Now, this is a track where the high line is preferred, and you're going to see these guys jump up to that high line as the 666 gets really loose up there. But this is a track where, in order to pass, you'll see a lot of these guys actually almost do a bit of a slide job and just send it in and put it up the track and hope that you clear the guy that you're trying to pass so that you can enter as deep as you need to clear him, and then just run it up to the wall. But this place is extremely loose. Something that's going to help these guys, though, is when you're running in traffic, the speeds are higher, you're getting a little bit more aero tight, so that might be the saving grace for some of these guys.
The 03 of Nathan Bowers had a great run there for a moment, almost catching up to the 34 of Mike Shelton. Not going to happen. The 666 of Gabaldini now underneath the 03, and here comes Hollis Vanderloon in the 18 machine. He wants to make a run happen as well. Too bad right behind him, Marvin Turnmeyer Jr. in the 16. He's going to try to make something work. So already trying to jockey for position a little bit here, not wanting to go behind, not wanting to lose position out there. They're already trying to get racing in the back of the field. You know what? With not a whole lot of races left, why not try it?
Absolutely. A lot of these guys looking for their first wins of the season, and I tell you what, when you're anyone who races in one of these, someone actually, Nathan Bowers gets really loose out of turn number 2 but saves it. But as we see the number 18 of Hollis Vanderloon, that really nice colored hot tamale scheme, a great looking race car, a lot of times the racing towards the middle of the pack and towards the back of the pack is a lot harder than it is up front. These guys are trying to come through the field, and there's a little more aggressive driving back there. Anyone who has raced will tell you it is a lot difficult to be up there as a number 3 car. It just looks pretty loose out there. Number 3 of Barry Hines, I think he qualified in the top 10 or just outside of it, and he seems to be pretty loose out there.
Had trouble. The 3 of Barry Hines had trouble. The 66 of Brian Harvey got around him, and the number 09 of John Harris got around him as well when the 3 made contact with the wall coming off of turn 4. So already he's got a little bit of a flat right side on that number 3 car, which may not help him as much as you would think running through the rest of this race. So he drops 2 positions from 10th to 12th. Now the 09 of John Ehlers trying to get a run on, see if he can catch up to the 66, the 11 of Stephen Maddox trying to stay in the top 10, but now the 66 trying to get a run on him, and the 11, another car, starting to look a little loose out there.
Yeah, and I tell you, 66 of Brian Harvey is one of those drivers every week just seems to be solid. He seems to be there and competing for top 5 finishes. In this race, he started 10th, running 10th, and right now working on the 91, or I'm sorry, that's not the 91, that's the 11 of Maddox. As we have a battle for the lead up front, I tell you, Bobby Terrell just looking for a way to get around Marinak up there, and the 7 car, the 7 of Bobby Terrell, just been stalking Marinak and working that middle groove. not able to really get underneath the 24 of Marinac quite yet, but the 24 gets loose out of 4. This might be the opportunity that Bobby needs to get underneath him, and they will be side by side going into turn number 1, but it'll be interesting to see how that middle groove works for that 7 car as he tries to pass him.
Let's go on board with the number 7 machine of Bobby Terrell as he gets that great run through 1 and 2, using the apron to his advantage on that front stretch. He is at the pass and potentially the lead on the back straightaway. Let's see what happens through 3 and 4. The 24 goes sliding high. The 7 of Bobby Terrell shows no sign of wanting to give up his lead. Now the 24's got to run. He's looked strong through there, but it's not going to be enough. 7 goes back down on the apron. He will lead his first lap for the night. Bobby Terrell scores the bonus point, and he will get in front of Steven Marinac to lead lap number 9.
I tell you what, I like the way that number 7 car, Bobby Terrell, looks. He was being held up a little bit by Marinac, and he's running a line that is quite a bit lower than a lot of these guys. I think what we're figuring out here is that while the Cup cars here really like to run way out against the wall, I think the Nationwide cars are just a little bit too loose to where you don't want to use any wheel input at all. A lot of times you swing it up to the wall and you're kind of hard on the wheel, and so Bobby Terrell just throwing it in the middle, being really easy on that wheel input, and he started to edge away little by little from the 24 of Marinac.
6 and 6 now side by side. That's Tequila Joe. Jose Gonzalez losing position to Chad Coleman in the 6 machine, and the 6 of Chad Coleman will break into the top 5 once again. He started 5th. Tequila Joe nowhere to go, so he's going to lose 1 position out there on the field. Leading that line is the 99 of Josh Cheney. He's been a competitor all season long, really coming alive in the latter half of the season, this chase aspect, if you will, as a 6 and 26 once again side by side. Tequila Joe must have put a little alcohol in the engine because he got a good run going through 1 and 2, makes the pass cleanly. And now Tequila Joe asserting his muscle out there, not wanting to give it away. 6, though, does not want to lose that position so quick.
Yeah, Chad Coleman in that number 6, just really loose right now. In fact, earlier in the race, as we saw the lead battle go on, as Bobby Terrell made that move for the lead, Chad Coleman, actually, as we have a solid battle on the track right now, the 11, and sorry, we have caution
now on the field. It's a 66 machine of Brian Harvey getting some help from the 11 of Steve Maddox. Now the 66 gets hit again. He's spinning around like a top on the infield, and that could hurt Brian Harvey's chances tonight. So the 66 machine goes around in turns 1 and 2, and that will bring out our first yellow flag of the night. Not enough real estate for the 11 and 66 to share going into 1 and 2, and that'll bring it out and cause heavy damage to the 66.
Yeah, looking at that, I was wondering if there was some kind of history there, if something happened to them a couple laps ago. Doing a quick rewind, it doesn't appear so, but going down the front stretch, the 66 of Brian Harvey was underneath the 11, and the 11 was not headed up to the wall. He just came down and door slammed the 66. And then entering turn number 1, Brian Harvey is running way lower than the preferred racing groove, and the 11 just kind of comes down and hooks him by his right rear, and that triggers the wreck. It's a very weird-looking wreck because I don't think those two drivers have a history. It almost makes me think Maddox was angry about something, as the 66 just went airborne when the 77 of Randall Watkins came into play. That was because the Harvey was trying to get off of the racetrack, but other cars were headed their way. So that was a really weird chain of events. As Brian Harvey is on pit road to fix the damage, most of these drivers coming down pit road, they will probably take 4 tires. I think 2 tires will be way too loose here, and so these drivers will probably take 4. In fact, as we get later into this race and these guys are able to make it on fuel, I think what you'll see these drivers do to adjust the feeling of these cars is to not fill it up.
The 77 machine of Randy Watkins coming off of pit road. We can see right there that front end damage that they tried to repair on the 77. Tough hit. He tried to get out of the way of that spinning car. The 66 machine didn't work to his advantage, wasn't able to get around him the way he anticipated the car would go, and that caused a lot of front end damage, and that is going to hurt him later on in the race.
Yeah, in fact, looking at Randall Watkins, he might have got pretty lucky as far as damage. He hit him in a very interesting place to where There might have even been some netcode involved, to be completely honest. I think 77 of Randall Watkins got a little bit lucky, although he had, when he came down to pit road, it pretty much reset his damage, which could just be visibly on our behalf, or some netcode action that made us think we had damage when he didn't. So that's something that comes into play with these sim races. He made his pit stop and the car looks clean, but I tell you, the 66 of Brian Harvey, not so lucky.
So we'll have to see what exactly happens to Randy Watkins when we go back to Green Flag Racing, if he's able to stay competitive or not. Meanwhile, all eyes up front. Bobby Terrell, Josh Chaney, CJ LeVere, John Wilco, your top 4. Stephen Marinac, who was running immediately behind that 7 machine, is back up to 5th place.
Yeah, looking at some of these guys, Marinac, he didn't have the greatest pit stop in the world. And Josh Chaney, someone I want to look at, the number 99 of Josh Chaney is a driver who usually likes to start in the back and work his way forward. He did not do that here. He actually qualified. He qualified 8th, and I think he qualified. He didn't get the best lap in that he could have hoped for. It probably was a little bit loose in qualifying, maybe missed his marks a little bit. But Josh Chaney driving through the field. And now, after that pit stop, we'll be restarting 2nd. And it'll be really cool to see if he's able to hang with the number 7 of Bobby Terrell, who's kind of distanced himself, as haven't figured out this track a little bit so far. That 7 car has been looking really good ever since the drop of the green flag, whether he was behind the 24 of Marinac or after he got the lead, able to inch away from the field.
And then there's the 62 of John Wilco, who stayed out an extra lap to try to play the strategy game a little bit. Now he's going to drop back through the field. He will be scored 17th when we go back to Green Flag Racing in just one more lap. But he's now definitely on a different pit cycle than everybody else, and I think he's trying to maybe play the fuel game a little bit out there.
Every lap helps, no doubt about it. John Wilco started this race in the 20th position, stayed out, got a lap led, which helps him with the points. The guys that he's racing around for a top 10 spot in the point series, and I tell you, if they are close whatsoever on gas, it pays to top off when you're not really giving up that much track position. John Wilco is a driver who drives pretty smart, pretty conservatively, and likes to keep his car clean, and so Wilco certainly, if fuel is close, this would be a help for him. As they work their way through turns 3 and 4, we are doubled up, in the 7 of Bobby Terrell and the 99 of Josh Chaney will be on your front row on this restart, coming at lap number 17.
And then there's CJ LeVere like a bulldog binding onto the very back bumper of that number 7 machine of Terrell. Let's see what happens as they take the green flag. Once again, it's Bobby Terrell leading them down. He's got a nice jump, and we're back to Green Flag Racing. CJ LeVere not able to get as nice a jump. He will jump right behind Josh Chaney. Single file now, all the way back to the 33 and 26. That's Jose Gonzalez now trying to get around the 15 of Rhett McBride. And Jose Gonzalez in the 26. Holy moly, what a hot tamale he is. Trying to make a big move now side by side with the 24 into 3 and 4. Jose Gonzalez. Tequila Joe, big run. Excellent restart for the 26.
Yeah, he really took advantage. When on these restarts, you're not at full song entering turn number 1, you're able to really throw it to the bottom and get all you can, and Jose did a magnificent job of taking advantage of all that he could. Got at least 2 or 3 spots out of it as he works underneath the number 4 of CJ LeVere. Jose's moving through the field, man, and quickly. And I think as we get more and more laps, we're seeing, you know what, the middle groove might be the strongest groove here. A lot of these drivers went into this race thinking the high side was the place to be, but it's looking like the middle, you can pass low. A little easier than I expected. I think these Nationwide cars race here better than the Cup cars.
That might just be Chad Coleman in the 6, also trying to make some moves early as well. Cuts through the field, gets past the 15 of McBride and the 33 of Dave Lanza. Now the 33 and the 15 side by side. In front of them is a 24 and 99 side by side as well. 99 made some contact with the wall, looks like. So Josh Chaney will start going backwards, opens the door for the 24 of Marinac and the 6 of Coleman. Those two guys now driving side by side. Meanwhile, it's Jose Gonzalez moved up to 2nd. Once we cross the line, CJ LeVere in 3rd. Stephen Marinac has to figure out where he's going to go, and now he's going to combat the 6 and 99. He goes high, opens the door for 2 cars, count 2 positions off for Stephen Marinac.
Yeah, Marinak's staying solid right now, and I tell you, Jose Gonzalez, what a start from 5th to 2nd on that restart. Is Chad Coleman coming up into the picture right now? That number 6 of Chad Coleman, I talked to him before the race, and he was a little bit worried about how loose it was. He mentioned if he drove turns 1 and 2 really hard, by the time he got to 3 and 4, he was out of control loose. And so we've seen the 6. Look at the 39, might be in trouble.
666 is the one that's in trouble. That's Augusto Gabaldini, who ended up going down, making contact with the wall, coming off a 4, and he's going to go spinning into the grass. No yellow flag out, though, as it was a solo spin. The 666, though, in trouble as he's got to figure out how he's going to mitigate that damage. Another driver I've got my eye on right now is the 15. We'll get back to him in just a moment as the 24 of Stefan Marinac gets around the 4, dispatches him quickly, and now the whole new race up front. It's still Bobby Terrell in 1st, Chad Coleman now in 2nd, Jose Gonzalez in the 26th and 3rd, and here comes the 24 of Stefan Marinac. He's got a big run moving up.
Yeah, Chad Coleman able to really get through that pack in the last couple of laps, get up to 2nd place as he's inched away from this pack, but Marinac has looked really smooth and really solid. Chad's looked pretty loose, and he's been searching around different lines to see what works for him. I think he's found something that works the best that it had, or better than anything he's tried all race. But Marinac in the number 24 working alongside Jose Gonzalez in the 26, who had a great start. And Marinac looks really solid and really smooth right now, but just cannot get that run that he needs off of the corner as Jose Gonzalez able to clear him going down the backstretch. So Marinac will have to try again, but currently running in the 4th position. Up front earlier, lost a number of spots on that pit stop. Bobby Terrell right now just doing a great job out front. But I tell you what, that number 6 of Chad Coleman is starting to really reel him in.
Single file racing now for the most part. It's Bobby Terrell up front, Chad Coleman half a second away, Jose Gonzalez and Stefan Marinac 3rd and 4th, and it's going to be CJ LeVere rounding out your top 5. As these guys get it sorted out, let's go ahead and take our first commercial break of the evening. You're watching ETV Live's live coverage of the RSR Asphalt B Series from Kansas Speedway. 24 in the books. It's currently scoring lap 25 when they cross the line. Plenty of racing action left to go, race fans. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Travis, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4, and the checkered flag, he wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back, race fans. Lead change pending right this moment. You watch the 7 of Bobby Terrell, the 6 of Chad Coleman go side by side down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4, and we could have a new leader in any moment now. Terrell just too strong on that high line, and he will retain the lead. But Harry, you said something in the break. That 6 changed his lineup, and now he's reeled in that 7 in a hurry.
Yeah, Chad spent a lot of the early portions of this race really searching around. I think he realized early on that his line that he was running in practice was a little bit different than some of the guys around him. And as he started chasing down that 7 car, Bobby Terrell, he was running high in 1 and 2 and then arcing it down low in 3 and 4. As we see him right now, though, he runs high in 3 and 4 just as I say that. But Chad was able to drive up to him, but driving up to someone and passing them, that could be 2 different things right there.
Meanwhile, behind them, 24 Marinac, the 26 of Jose Gonzalez, trying to use the apron to their advantage. Single file now throughout this field, all the way through your top 10, and a lot of distance now starting to go between some of these drivers out here. Not a whole lot of competitive battles right now. Everybody seems to be happy in cruise control. Well, except for that block of 3 through 6. They want to start both going back.
Yeah, there's a good battle all the way from 3rd back to 6, as you mentioned. That's Marinac leading that pack back to the 4 of CJ LeVere. Meanwhile, Chad Coleman has regrouped, and I think he's about to try to start to take the lead again. I saw the number 6 of Chad Coleman go back to that low line in the middle of 3 and 4. He seems to be running high in 1 and 2, low in 3 and 4. Gets that nice run, and I think we're going to see a possible lead change again, or attempt, as the number 6 heads underneath the number 7. They are side by side for the lead coming through turns 3 and 4.
7 and 6 side by side. Going for the lead is the 6 of Chad Coleman. It's a drag race down the front stretch. Chad Coleman picks up the point. He will lead his first lap 100th of a second between those 2 drivers. Now the 6 passes the 7 cleanly, and these 2 drivers dogfighting it once again for position. Bobby Terrell needs to pick up at least he's already picked up a bonus point for running the most laps. He needs to pick up the bonus point for leading the most laps on this field. Let's go ahead and go on board with Bobby Terrell, Harry.
Yeah, as we look out, Chad Coleman is a driver. He seems to be really changing up his line every lap. I think it's very much dependent on how his car feels that lap. As we're on board with the number 7 car of Bobby Terrell, looking out in front of him, Chad running much higher through 1 and 2, and I think through 3 and 4 we'll see him dip down lower. But Chad Coleman is a driver that, as we look at Chad Coleman's line up here, the one thing I worried about is when he gets to the lead, sometimes you could get way aero loose, but that doesn't seem to be a problem for Chad. Chad is able to distance himself from that 7 car right now. That's something you worry about when you lead your first laps, especially at a big track. Very easy to get aero loose. But Bobby's fighting back and coming back as Chad's running really loose through 1 and 2 that time by. Bobby able to make up quite a bit of ground. It just seems that this is such a difficult racetrack that you can really run a bunch of different lines, just whatever works to try to get that right rear tire underneath you. That seems to be paramount.
Meanwhile, back in the back of the field, it's the 4 of CJ LeVere getting around the 33 of David Lanza. Now the 4 and 33 looking at the 26, trying to pick up another position as well. CJ LeVere, don't count him out. 3rd in points, and he wants to make a big splash tonight. Try to keep his championship hopes alive. The 26 now gets just a little bit loose. Goes to the 4. 33 now goes inside of the wall. 33 heavy damage as he makes contact. No yellow flag out yet, but the 33 of David Lanza in pain as he's limping on the infield.
Yeah, we saw they came 3 wide out of turn number 2, not by design, but Jose just got a little bit loose, and then they were pretty much pushed into a 3 wide situation, and not enough room for all 3 cars right there at the exit. Dave Lanza getting into the 26, or excuse me, not the 26, but Dave Lanza getting into the car above him, the number 4 CJ LeVere, I want to say, and and just head right to the inside wall, bounced it off, and just drove it back around to the pits. And he was far enough left on the racetrack that the officials decided not to call the caution flag. But Lanza was really racing hard in that battle with these guys, and he was looking good out there. That's a tough break for a guy that's running up front with them.
Another one bites the dust here at Kansas Speedway. We continue green flag racing. Biggest benefactor of that incident had to be CJ Oliveira as he gets in the third with ease. The 99 to Josh Cheney now back in fourth. Stefan Marinak rounds out your top five. And another potential cauldron ready to bubble over is the 26 of Jose Gonzalez and the 34 of Mike Shelton. Mike Shelton having a very quiet race tonight in the 34, rocking the gold numbers, the Wood Brothers inspired numbers, it looks like. Shelton now trying to get down on the apron, trying to get around the 26, too strong as the 15 helps him out. The 15 bumps the wall though, and that's going to give the 34 the advantage. 15 of Rhett McBride now on his back bumper, and if the 15 can recover from touching the wall, he might be able to smoke the 34 in 3 and 4.
Yeah, Mike Shelton creeped up there very quietly, and he was actually the driver who was the fastest in practice. A really great lap. And then because of that, I was surprised he actually decided to start. He elected not to qualify, ended up starting the race in 15th, has driven up to 7th right now, under attack from that number 15 of Rhett McBride, who's been competitive every single week in this series, so close to a win last week. And now the 34 of Shelton gets blocked in behind the 26 of Gonzalez, and this might be what the 15 car of Rhett McBride needed to be able to clear these guys.
Rhett McBride out of contention for the championship in the 15 machine, but a great season for him nonetheless. 2 poles, 1 win, 7 top 5s, and if he can get competitive enough out there, he might try to steal win number 3 on the field here, or win number 2 I should say, here at Kansas Speedway. Robbed last week when he just ran out of fuel, too late for him, so that's gonna be wearing on his mind here tonight at Kansas.
Oh yeah, and we spoke to him last week in the post-race driver interviews, and he was just audibly deflated, very deflated about the end of that race. He wasn't thrilled. He was certainly congratulatory towards the number 10 of John Abbott. They knew that the strategy games that they were playing all throughout that run, they pitted with something like 87 laps to go, and he was just half a lap too short. But as this battle continues, a great battle between the 26 and the 15, just side by side for a couple laps in a row. Nowhere for the 34 of Mike Shelton to go, but all 3 of these cars have been competitive all race. It just seems that Jose Gonzalez right now might be a little bit loose, and that's why these guys are trying to capitalize. That's number 34 tries to look 3 wide, but he got a little bit loose out of 4 to where I don't think he's quite there. As he's loose on the apron, able to save that car, but that's going to be a lot of momentum loss as they enter turn number 1.
Momentum now is all in the eyes of the 26 machine of Jose Gonzalez. He was very loose going on the high side on turns 1 and 2, which might have led to that incident involving David Lanza just a few laps ago. 15 Rhett McBride stays underneath him, and they are battling side by side through the field. Let's go one board now with the 34 of Mike Shelton as you watch from his perspective that battle between the 26 and 15 just brewing back and forth. Neither one of these guys wanting to give an inch, but it looks like it might be Gonzalez that's going to be forced to give an inch here pretty quick.
Yeah, as the 15 goes for the slide job, not quite able to complete it, and the 26 goes right back to his outside. That was a close call, but Mike Shelton likes these guys racing because it allows him a chance to catch them, but once he gets to them, there's simply nowhere to go because these guys are not really looking to go 3 wide. The 3 wide out of turn number 2 when Jose got loose was simply accidental, but this is just a really difficult racetrack, and it's a difficult racetrack to pass if the guy on the high side is able to keep his momentum, but this has been a hard battle going on for close to 10 laps at this point.
Going back through the rest of the field, still some more battles brewing on track around the 12th position. It's the 11 of Steve Maddox, still under fire from the 62 of John Wilco. John Wilco, absolutely one of the big competitors to watch. And look at these guys here. They're going 2 by 1 on the back straightaway, check out the front straightaway, looking for position. Now the 11 gets into the wall hard. he's going to ride the wall glue for a little bit, and that's going to cost him a lot of position. The 12, the 666, the 18, all getting around the 11 of Steven Maddox. It looks like he just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and he is going to drop from 12th, looks like all the way back to 14th, and then even more as the 11 still loose on the field.
Yeah, that 11 car just way too high last time by. Through 3 and 4 is John Wilco up to 12th position. We mentioned he stayed out on the previous caution, led that lap, restarted in, I believe, the 17th position, and he's gained 5 spots right now, and he's in a nice battle right now with the number 12. That is Douglas Wyatt, also known as Hippie. Hippie's Paint Shop, one of the chief painters over there, and right now the 12 working on the 62 of John Wilco. John Wilco's looking good, though, as we get into this long run. These guys are running pretty competitive times, and that's a nice battle with all 4 or 5 of these cars pretty much underneath a blanket.
John Wilco could have an opportunity to get into the top 10 in points tonight.
There's a spin entering turn number 3. It looks like it was between the number 11 of Steven Maddox once again. He tangled with the 666 of Augusto Gabaldoni, that was. And Augusto was not on the lead lap. He was damaged earlier in the race. That's going to bring out our second caution of the event.
Caution out for the second time on lap 48. 666, even more damage, and that could mean the end of his night. Heavy damage on the rear end of that 666 machine. Augusto Gabaldini is going to pull up behind the garage. He is done for the night after his second incident, just damaging that car even further, and we will have all the cars collected behind the pace car for the second time this evening. Chad Coleman, your leader. Bobby Jarrell second. CJ Levere now in third.
Yeah, and all these drivers, I imagine, will come to pit road and pick up 4 fresh tires. I don't think we'll see really anyone go for 2, unless it's a situation where we have to do a green flag pit stop late in the going just to be able to make it on gas. They just will take enough to be able to make it to the end. But I don't see really 2-tire strategy coming into play here tonight, aside from a late race caution where somebody might be more likely to try it. But as these drivers all are about to come down pit road, we've got 16 of them on the lead lap, and I do believe each and every one will come down. Maybe someone will stay out just to lead a lap and then duck in the second time by. But Chad Coleman, the leader, hopes that his pit crew can get the job done and be able to get off of pit road in the lead. As the number 6 and the number 7 head into their pit stops right now. Should be 4 tires on both sides, but the question is, as the number 26 of Jose Gonzalez is running in the top 5, actually overshot his pit stall, and so the 26 will be losing some ground, but the 15 of Rhett McBride, I believe, might have taken 2 tires. I'll have to double check that. CJ Levere also a great pit stop, and we'll have to see where the game lines them up.
7.9 seconds for Rhett McBride. He's the only Lex to take 2 tires on the field. Gets off pit road first. Gets out in front of the 7, the 4, the 6, the 24 of Steven Marinac comes out 5th on the field. So Rhett McBride trying the 2-tire pit strategy, and it's going to be very interesting watching him to see if he's got enough tires underneath him to stay in front of everybody else.
As we look at the number 18 car of Hollis Vanderloon, that Hot Tamales car is a really nice looking paint scheme. Unfortunately, he's got some heavy front end damage stemming from the caution that came out. I believe he made contact with the 11, or actually, as I look back at it, he was just one of the guys who he was right behind the caution when it broke out. It suffered severe front end damage and will sit on pit road. So, Chad Coleman not able to get out of the pits in the lead, and he just mentioned over his radio that he really was using up the right rear tire. In fact, the tire wear percentages for his right sides, 83% on the right front, 74% on the right rear. So these guys are driving loose, Joe.
4 car will come back down to pit road. That is CJ Levere. Not sure why he's back down on pit road. All I know is he's taking 4 tires once again. Did he may not have taken tires on the last pit stop, or he may have stayed out to lead a lap on the field. Nonetheless, 4-tire stop for CJ Levere, and he is going to be in no man's land when we restart this race in just a few laps. So very interesting you mentioned the tire wear there on the 6 of Chad Coleman. We saw him be fast all throughout this field. We saw him just make a tear on the number 7 of Bobby Terrell and get around him, which leads me to ask questions about the 2-tire strategy of Rhett McBride.
I'm a little bit worried about Rhett McBride, to be honest. I think he's going to be really loose, and these guys are going to have to be aware of him. As what I think would happen to CJ LeVere in the 4 is, I believe he sped on pit road exit, and so he came back in the second time just to top off.
And now we're getting word that number 4 of CJ LeVere may have some damage as a result of contact with the number 7 of Bobby Terrell coming off of pit road. If that is the case, that could definitely hurt him. But with it, especially with this track being so fast and being so aerodynamically important for each of these cars, we will have to keep an eye on that as they line up double file. Let's go ahead and take the restart order real quick here. It will be Rhett McBride starting in front, Bobby Terrell in second, Chad Coleman third, Stefan Marinak fourth, Mike Shelton fifth, Jose Gonzalez sixth, Barry Hines, Randall Watkins, Marvin Turnmeyer, and John Wilco rounding out your top 10. CJ LeVere forced to come down pit road not once, not twice, but 3 times due to damage. We'll restart 15th on this field.
Yeah, and he might have been caught speeding just the same, trying to beat those guys out of pit road. So CJ's going to have his work cut out for him, trying to come from the end of the longest line. As right now in good position is Rhett McBride, but how will his 2 tires work out? This is going to be really interesting to watch. I really think that 15 car is going to be loose.
Pace car gets out of the way. We go back to green flag racing. This Rhett McBride, he makes a big jump on the field. Back to green flag racing. The 7 of Terrell gets back in line. Chad Coleman in line. Stefan Marinak in line. Jose Gonzalez, 26 and 34. First battle on the field. Mike Shelton goes high. He will go back into line. And now all eyes on the 7 and 6 as they are side by side once again. 15, nothing to answer to those 2 cars. He will go high, and there they go.
Yeah, the 15 looks stable enough right now to handle it. But as he starts getting loose, just as I say that, he just doesn't have the drive off with those 2 tires to make it work. As Chad Coleman works his way underneath that 15 car, Bobby Terrell able to get to the lead, and Chad might be trying to get the lead early on to see if he can lead on these fresher tires. Although we saw in the last run, he took the lead later in the going. Might be a situation where they might be especially loose early on in these things, where being in the lead could make you even more loose with someone tucked underneath your back bumper.
The 15 of Rhett McBride falls like a stone in a pond, goes from the penthouse to the doghouse. He'll go to the back of the top 5. Meanwhile, it's Bobby Terrell back in command of this field. Chad Coleman in second, Stefan Marinak in third, Jose Gonzalez fourth. Rhett McBride still holds on as the caboose of that train, but that's definitely not where he wants to be. The 26 keeping him at the back of that big old train of cars. It's going to be the number 34 of Mike Shelton in 6th. Randall Watkins, after that incident earlier in the race, bring out the first yellow flag. He'll be in 7th. Barry Hines in the 3 and 8. CJ LeVere now finds his way up to 9th, carving his way through this field. The 4 is going to dispatch the 3 without any problems, move the 4 up to 8th.
Yeah, that 4 car, CJ LeVere, moving forward. However, I think he's a little bit too far behind the leaders to latch onto them. Those guys up front able to use the draft to their advantage just a little bit. It doesn't mean too much here. You can run fast lap times without the draft. However, it's certainly an advantage that you want to have by your side. And so CJ's really pushing his car hard, trying to catch those leaders. But I think he's got a little bit too much ground to make up to be able to contend with the actual leaders. But we've seen the longer we go, the more we spread out. And he'll be able to capture some positions as he gets his way closer to cars that he's been faster than all race. As actually Chad Coleman in the number 6 car, the 6 looking below the 7, Bobby Terrell, not able to get there right now, but these guys right up front, especially the top 4 are all really tight, all running close to on top of each other.
Chad Coleman battling for the lead with a 7 one more time. The 7 stays in front. The 6 getting the push from the 24 of Stefan Marinak, the number 24, knowing that he needs to make a move on the 7. if he wants to walk away from this race with the points lead intact. Stefan Marinac in third, Chad Coleman second. Bobby Terrell continues to run up front. The 6 seems to be stronger. It's not a matter of if the 6 will pass or attempt to pass. The question is, when will the 6 make the move on the 7 of Bobby Terrell?
Yeah, and behind that pack, the 34 is working his way around. The 15 of Rhett McBride should complete that pass shortly. And the 34, Mike Shelton, qualified 15th, electing not to qualify. Started with the guys who did not qualify. And he's really running good lap times. The 26 gets really loose. The 26 sideways out of turn number 2. He saves it.
Tequila Joe almost goes for a ride. Jose Gonzalez in the 26 nearly goes around, and instead he's going to save it, and he's going to get back on the track behind the 4.
Yeah, this is a situation where one little mistake can result in that. A lot of lost track position. He simply started over-rotating, as I think we might have a spin on the track. The 16 car, the 16 goes through the grass on the front stretch, contact with the 11, and there was actually another wreck at the same time that I just missed. It was the 3 car through the grass as well. So 2 different incidents coming down on the front stretch, but I don't believe the caution came out for them.
Let's go ahead and go back to that second incident with the 09 and the 3 machine. The 09 of John Ehlers got a little bit loose out there coming off of turns 3 and 4, forced to overcorrect, gets in the wall, gets into the 3, and that will be one of 2 simultaneous incidents that happen on the field out there. And miraculously enough, they're still letting him race out there after both of those incidents. 3 cars go spinning, and we are still green flag racing. Nowhere else but Kansas Speedway does that happen. Bobby Terrell still up front. Chad Coleman 2 car lengths away. Make that 1 car length that he's digging, trying to get up front of that 7. We might have a challenge for the lead here in a couple laps.
Yeah, when those 2 incidents happen and they just get down in the grass quick enough, it won't trigger the caution. As we look at the number 6 of Chad Coleman, just try to get that edge on the 7 of Bobby Terrell. And these guys are just so on the edge that the smallest mistake takes them out of that lead battle. We saw Jose Gonzalez a few laps ago get loose. Jose right now is 2.5 seconds behind the leaders now, running in 7th position. In fact, CJ LeVere just got by him. But Chad Coleman in that 6 car just trying to keep his right rear tire underneath him, trying to get that run on the 7 of Bobby Terrell, as the 2 points leaders are both in the top 3. We've got the points leader running in the 3rd position right now. That's Stefan Marinac, and Bobby Terrell trying to get all he can, is up there just driving as hard as he can to hold off that 6 car, but still in the lead, and these guys are going to have to find a way around him.
If our math is correct, they can go the rest of the way on fuel. They get about a 70 lap plus or minus fuel window in these cars. That being said, I don't think they want to go the entire way, because if they do, their tires are going to be in very, very sorry shape, especially with as aggressive as they've been driving. The 7 and the 6 now almost bumper to bumper against each other. The 6 goes way low, loses a little bit of momentum. Now it's a 7's turn. Terrell will go back down on the apron as he's been doing lap after lap. And look at the jump that gives him. 2 car lengths between the 7 and the 6. Now they're back battling once again, and I think we might be seeing a little bit of defense mode out of both the 7 and the 6.
Yeah, this is quite the battle heating up. We've gotten a pretty good ways from that restart, and all 3 cars still just right on top of each other. As they cross the line this time, it's going to be 41 laps to go. This race just clicking away, and so these guys know every position matters. As Stefan Marinac doing a much better job of keeping his car underneath him this run, able to stay with these leaders. But the 7 car of Bobby Terrell, Bobby actually yawed out through 1 and 2, but Chad gets even looser. You could just tell these guys are just constantly fighting these race cars at this track. And when they're fighting their race cars, it just can make the racing that much more entertaining.
Let's take a couple laps now with the 24 of Stefan Marinac. Let's get his perspective as we go 2 laps around Kansas Speedway with Stefan Marinac in the 24. And that is what 3 laps look like around Kansas Speedway at 180 miles per hour. You were riding on board with a 24 of Stefan Marinac, and you really saw a couple things there. Number one, the 7 is now trying to do what the 6 was doing earlier in this race, changing up his line and running a much more defensive line. And secondly, you saw the 6 do a little dirt tracking there through turns 3 and 4, almost counter-correcting it, coming through the turn, trying to power slide and to try to get that speed up. That's got to hurt his tires, though, Harry.
Yeah, we've seen Chad doing a lot of counter steering, and it seems fast, but honestly, it actually is scrubbing all the speed away. Anytime you're sideways, like right now, the 6 incredibly sideways, working his way through 1 and 2, and that heats the right rear tire up, just like you said, and can make you even looser, and it also scrubs speed. You want the car to be just yawed out enough to carry that speed, kind of like the way he's working through 3 and 4 right now. That's a pretty good amount of yaw, a little bit too much actually. He is getting a little bit loose. But Chad, we saw Marinac start to lose these guys just a little bit, but now as these guys have gotten loose again, these 2 drivers right in front of him, he starts inching his way closer to them again. This is just a constant challenge. These drivers are fighting their cars, trying to keep them as straight as possible. These guys are loose out here tonight.
They are very loose, but they are running out of time rapidly. We're on 72 of 107. They know that they're running out of time quickly to make a move out there on the field. Bobby Terrell up front, Jan Coleman second, Stefan Marinac third. Now it's a battle for fourth. It's a 15 of Rhett McBride, immediately under fire by the 4 of CJ LeVere, side by side down the front stretch. Count the position to CJ LeVere. He will move from 6th to 4th in the number 4 machine. Now the 34 behind the 15 forces the 15 up the hill, and that will cost the 15 2 spots. And then there's Tequila Joe in the 26. Jose Gonzalez gets around the 15 as well, and Jose Gonzalez wastes no time. He was involved in that incident earlier, and if you didn't know that he was involved in that incident, you wouldn't know. He is running strong again, and he's definitely a competitor to take away some positions here tonight.
Yeah, Jose Gonzalez has been doing a good job and having to fight back from that massive slide coming out of turn number 2. We saw Rhett McBride going backwards, those 2 tires just catching up with him, but he was running in the 8th position before the last caution, right now running 7th. So it might have worked out for him. Actually, there's a car hitting the wall way in front of these guys, just damaging off the pace. The number 3 of Barry Hines just grazing the wall through 3 and 4. He's just, as he's loose on the front stretch, I think he's trying to give these guys room, but his car is just so damaged that it's very hard to control right now, as actually he's in the middle groove where a lot of these guys want to go around him. So CJ LeVere in the number 4, losing a lot of momentum as he works underneath the number 3 car. And that's an advantage for the number 34 of Mike Shelton, as we see the 34 just creep up on the 4 of CJ LeVere. Barry Hines going high to let these guys go through turns 3 and 4, and Jose Gonzalez right there. So this is one of the, we have a nice battle in the middle of the pack here. 3 cars battling for the lead, 4 cars battling for 4th.
Tough season for the 3 of Barry Hines, as now he gets even more loose. He's going to go around and hit the wall. This is going to bring out another yellow flag. The 3 hits the wall hard, goes spinning. Yellow flag will be out. You see the replay right now, and a disappointing season gets even more disappointing for Barry Hines. 34th in points, 12 starts, only 1 top 10, and that very well could be the end of his evening. Trying to get out of the way, and it doesn't work for him. He loses it, gets into the wall, spins like a top, and yellow flag is out once more on this field.
Yeah, when the cars are so significantly damaged that they're tracking in inconvenient directions, you could say. These cars are just hard to control, and you're going through the tri-oval with an amount of wheel that the car isn't used to. It's much more likely to just come around, and so that's what we saw out of the number 3 of Barry Hines. Just it's hard to run these damaged cars. He's out there for points, trying to just get what he can, and unfortunately, that's a risk that you take when you're running a really damaged race car. Is the leaders will going to come around to pit road right here, and we should see once again. I'm going to be surprised if someone takes 2 tires. We saw it kind of work out for Rhett McBride. He didn't lose too much track position, but I think he had a lack of grip, and I think these leaders are going to stick with 4. As Bobby Terrell comes in as the leader, Chad Coleman in 2nd, and Marinac in 3rd.
Bobby Jarrell will lead them down pit road. Chad Coleman, Stefan Marinak, CJ Levaire, all to the attention of their crews and look for all tires and fuel. This could be the last stop of the evening, or at least one of them. 7's in, 24's in, 4 overshoots. There are only 4 overshoots as well. That's going to hurt them. Tires up on the 7, tires up on the 26, tires up on the 6 as well. The 15 once again only taking 2 tires. Easily an 8-second stop for Rhett McBride. He's down and away, followed by the 7 of Bobby Terrell, the 6 of Coleman, the 34 of Shelton down and away. Stefan Marinak, CJ Levaire, all now off pit road. And once again, Rhett McBride trying the 2-tire strategy, seeing if he can make it work one more time here at Kansas. As we get them figured out, well, let's go ahead and take another commercial break. They'll get them lined up and get them going the right way here at Kansas Speedway. One more yellow flag could be the final one. We could see the final pit stops. Will it be enough? Only time will tell. Stay tuned, race fans. You are watching ETV Live's live coverage of the RSR Asphalt Salt B Series at Kansas.
Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV Live, sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Welcome back, race fans, to ETV Live's live coverage of the RSR Asphalt Assault Series at Kansas Speedway. Rhett McBride will lead them back to the green flag. Bobby Terrell second, Chad Coleman third, Mike Shelton fourth, Stefan Marinak fifth, and CJ Levaire in sixth. Pace car getting ready to get the heck out of the way. These guys want to go back racing. Less than 30 to go out on the field. It's going to be 27 when we go back to the start finish line. Pace car off. It's green flag racing time. Rhett McBride puts the hammer down. Here comes the 7 of Terrell, the 6 of Chad Coleman immediately on his bumper. We are back to racing.
Yeah, and Rhett McBride taking right sides only. The previous caution, on this caution, he took left sides. His left sides rolled and he changed them. And now when you get right sides only here, a lot of times that makes you over-rotate. And here, left sides makes you under-rotate, so to speak. And so Chad Coleman, but something that these guys running second and third are able to do is they took 4 tires, Bobby Terrell and Chad Coleman, as the number 7 works his way underneath the 15. Chad Coleman in the 6 looks 3 wide in the middle, not quite there up to the 7, but both of these guys looking to get past the number 15, Rhett McBride.
Remember, this is a fixed setup series. They can't make any chassis adjustments, so they've got to do whatever they can with the tires to make the car run the way they want it to. It looks like Rhett McBride tried to do that as he's staying competitive now. He's crossing over on the 6th, the 5th, 6, and 15, battling back and forth. 15 has the advantage low side, but it's not enough. The 6 has too many horses. The 7, the 6, still up front. 1st and 2nd. Bobby Terrell 1st. Chad Coleman 2nd. Rhett McBride 3rd. Here comes Jose Gonzalez in 4th. Your points competitors, Stefan Marinak in 5th. CJ LeVere in the 4 machine 7th. Now the 4 trying to get a run on the 34. Not there yet, but CJ LeVere, I'm sure, has got a couple tricks left up his sleeve.
As the 26 works underneath the 15 of Rhett McBride, Jose looking for that position. Rhett fights hard on the outside, but the 26 gets a good run through the center. What I was thinking there is Rhett McBride with the left sides, he's able to tighten up his car a little bit. However, all these guys are so safe on fuel that they could have elected not to fill up their cars, and that's a way to get their cars feeling a little bit more snug. And so that's a game changer. These guys up front might be feeling a little bit tighter than they have all race. And so it changes the way you drive and attack these corners. Chad Coleman not having the greatest of exits, exiting turn number 2. Jose Gonzalez, the 26, able to work his way underneath it. And so the 26 looking to clear the 6, which he does, coming through turns 3 and 4.
Jose finds a way. The 26 moves up to position number 2. Chad Coleman in 3rd. Now battle behind the 34 and 15 get side by side. The 34's got the run. Save those cars. Keep moving forward. The 15, though, the biggest flip out of that one. The 34 of Mike Shelton. He almost had the position. Now they're going to go side by side. We'll decide it in 3 and 4. The 15, the 34, still battling side by side out there on the field. No battles in front of them. This is where the money meets the road. The 34, 15 on paper. It's Mike Shelton getting the advantage, but the 34 and 15 are done fighting it. Now contact 34 and 15.
Yeah, 3 wide coming out of turn number 2. Marinak tries to take advantage on the bottom. All 3 drivers giving enough room to make it work. As the 15 clears the 34, 34 of Shelton going to be able to go high. And so Marinak not able to capitalize, but that was a close call. You know, these guys are running so high on the track that a lot of times the bottom car will hold the middles. The 34 loose again. You know, Shelton's been fast all evening long, but it just seems like he's been having a little bit of trouble in these packs, getting loose or getting put in a bad position. And so Marinak running up to the 4th position right now. Marinak looking to inch his way forward as he's getting loose, and even LeVere getting loose. All these drivers really fighting these cars in the battle for 4th through 7th.
The battle is starting, and now it's man versus machine on the field. Stefan Marinak picks up position. He will move up to the what looks like will be the 4th position out there. CJ LeVere now in 5th. Mike Shelton not one to be silenced. He's going to try to go down the apron and start another fight with the 4 machine. The 4 of CJ LeVere still trying to battle back and forth. Behind them, the 99 of Josh Cheney gets around the 15. Let's go rip bumper the 24. As you can see, the battle brewing between the 4 and the 34. The 4 of LeVere stronger on the stretch. Mike gets around Mike Shelton. Mike Shelton nowhere to go but behind. And there is a car link between the 4, the 34, the 99 looking for something to happen out there. He's going to hitch up with the 34. And here we go again.
Last time by, they were entering turn number 1. The 34 was below the 4 and getting pinched down, luckily avoiding contact. But this time by, they've come through their single file as CJ LeVere really creeps up to the 24 of Marinak. However, something to keep in mind, those 2 cars are both Fearless Racing teammates. And so you know CJ LeVere is not going to do anything stupid to the number 24, but you do expect them to race. As the 24 gets loose and the 4 looks underneath, but he gets really loose out of turn number 4 himself. That's the trend for this evening. And so the 34, the Skull Machine, that is Mike Shelton, tries to take advantage to the high side, but the 4 starts sweeping up the track, but the 34 able to carry that momentum, hopes to clear the 4 of CJ LeVere, but LeVere gets a good exit off of turn number 2, and they remain side by side.
They remain side by side, the 4, the 34, and you mentioned it right there, the 4 and the 24 may be teammates, LeVere and Marinak, but they are still competitors for this championship. Only 36 points between the 24 and the 4, so they might not be doing anything stupid to each other, but they are going to race each other like there's until the rubbers are burned off each of these cars. The 24 now starting to get loose in front of the field. Contact made between the 34 and 99. 24 saves it, opens the door for the 4:15, tags along for the ride as well. What an incredible circumstance, what an incredible event. Amazing, nobody went around. 34-15 side by side. Here comes the 4 now underneath the 24. Marinac immediately under fire from teammate CJ LeVere. 3 wide behind him. 34-19-15. Something's going to give.
Wow, the 99 of Josh Cheney just makes it work. Those drivers, they avoid an incident because they all checked up quick enough to some contact being made when Marinac got loose. But I tell you what, CJ LeVere, as you point out, he will race his teammate because CJ LeVere 38 points out of lead coming into tonight's event, and he wants to get every point he can too. Clearly no team orders as CJ LeVere moves past the points leader and looks to hold on to that position. That was a very close call. The drivers checking up quick enough to avoid spinning each other out. Some contact made. I know Josh Cheney wasn't really loving the checkup in turn number 1, came over his radio a little bit angry, but these drivers got it sorted out. And right now straight, but Marinac really fighting a loose race car as we saw the 24 exit turn number 2 a little bit sideways once again.
15 to go on the field. Bobby Terrell, Jose Gonzalez, Chad Coleman, a time zone between them and the next 5. CJ LeVere now getting some time on the 24 and the 99. That's Marinac and Cheney behind them, the 34 and the 15. Rhett McBride now trying to get around Mike Shelton, and Mike Shelton does have some damage on that rear bumper as a result of contact between him and the 99. Not affecting the 99 at all. 34 might be a little arrow loose. We'll have to keep an eye on the 34. 15 goes back in line, and now these guys are content to run a single file for the time being. 14 to go, though. 13 when they cross the stripe, and even now that time is ticking out, how much longer are they going to be content to run with each other? 24 and 99 now side by side. 99's got to run.
And every point that Marinac loses is paramount in the championship picture with Bobby Terrell up front. And Bobby's got a big lead. So the 99 of Cheney, actually not the greatest run out of turn number 2. The 24 of Marinac pulls right up to his bumper. Doesn't look underneath him. I don't think he wanted to try to pass low at that point. But also creeping up into this picture, that 34 on the high side. The 34 is Mike Shelton, fastest car in practice. He's been solid all race long. And Rhett McBride just trailing these guys. I guess those left side tires, he's just not quite rotating as much as he wants to. But Marinac, I tell you, he's really struggling at this facility, and he's a driver we've seen really compete at these bigger tracks. But as we pointed out earlier in the event, this is a big track that is unlike any other big track we've seen this season, and Marinac just not able to work his car to the front during this run.
Not able to work it to the front, but that's not necessarily a demerit on him as much as it is just a statement on how hard these cars are driving out here on the field. Now they go 2 by 2 and it turns 1 and 2. 99 high, 24 low, 34 high, 15 low. They run in formation. Marinac knows that he needs to start making some moves. 11 laps to go, 10 when they cross the line. He is running out of time, and the points lead might be running out with him. He came in here 2 points ahead of Bobby Terrell. If he doesn't start moving, start trying to get up front, he may be looking back at Terrell once more. He may be looking forward toward Terrell once more in the point standings.
Yeah, and the 34 of Mike Shelton really getting a good run. Trying to come off of turn number 2 above the 99. It looks like he will. The 99 of Cheney loses that grip. Marinac comes up the track, has to give the lane to Shelton. And so let me tell you, just running at the tail end of that pack to leading this pack is like a 4-point transition, so it means a lot. There's a big difference between finishing 5th and finishing 8th in the drivers' minds and in the point standings minds. And Mike Shelton doing a good job putting his car in position to be in position number 5 right now. Takes a spot away from Stefan Marinac, who is getting loose once again, coming through 1 and 2, but the 99 of Cheney completely sideways on the outside. And we're within 10 laps to go, and these drivers are just pushing their cars for all they're worth.
8 laps to go at this point. Terrell, Gonzalez, Coleman, time zones between each of those 3 cars. LeVere now starting to look comfortable, almost a full second over Mike Shelton. It's Stefan Marinac in the 24 machine who's got the most to lose at this juncture, currently running 6th, and he looks like he's just he's pedaling that car for everything it's worth, driving it as hard as he can. He just cannot keep up with the 34 of Mike Shelton, and he cannot gain on your leaders out there. Now a battle starting to brew between the 6 and the 26. Someone must have told them, you guys are running out of time.
Yeah, Chad Coleman, we saw him really, really strong in a previous run. Not quite there this run. He's running really good lap times, but just lost so much. As he hits the wall, entering turn number 1, that's not going to help. But he's got a big buffer zone back to the 4th position, so he's just racing these guys in front of him. But that certainly didn't help his cause. But Chad Coleman, really good last run, lost a lot of space early on in this run. Now he's fast, but he's just a little bit too far back to get to Terrell. But the battle's on for 2nd place as Coleman looks for a way around Jose Gonzalez. And both of those drivers are pretty much spoilers in this series. They're not running for the title. They're not really they're not in the top 15 in points. But Jose with more starts on the year than Chad. Chad, this is his 2nd start in this series, but I think he might have hurt his car when he hit the wall in turn 1. It just doesn't appear to be handling right right now. But the 26 gets into the wall out of turn number 2, and the 26 looks to not get in the way of the 6 to cause a problem and just cranks it left. And so that's some really smart driving by Jose. He did not want to cause an issue, and he got the heck out of the way when he hit that wall. So that puts Chad Coleman into 2nd, but I think Chad's got some damage from when he hit the wall himself, and I don't think he'll be able to chase down Bobby from here.
5 to go at this juncture. Bobby Terrell on an island right now. He has sailed away from the rest of the field. Chad Coleman gets a huge Christmas present from Jose Gonzalez. It is Christmas in October for the 6 machine. He will pick up 2nd. Jose Gonzalez still having trouble coming off turn 2. That's the 2nd time he's forced to crank it on the back straightaway. He will still hold on to 3rd. He has gotten over 2 seconds on CJ LeVere, currently running 4th, and now the 4 of LeVere under fire from both the 34 and the 24. 24 high, 34 low, side by side, and it's Stefan Marinak in the catbird seat. He picks up position number 5, it looks like, out there, and he does not want to give up any more. Points are critical for Marinak. He needs to move, and he needs to move in a hurry.
Yeah, Marinak doing a better job right now. I think when he got caught battling a lot of these cars, he burnt up his right rear a little bit. If you get frustrated at all and you start driving harder, the last thing you want to do at this track is drive harder. You just really have to be precise. But the 24 works underneath the number 4 of CJ LeVere. Every point is so key in this title fight. And Marinak right now gets the position over the number 4, but he gets loose out of turn number 2. The 4 able to keep it above him. And they're still side by side as they work down the backstretch with 4 laps to go.
Terrell, Coleman, Gonzalez, your top 3. All eyes are on the 4 and the 24 as they battle between them for 4th and 5th. Valuable points on the line as they come to the stripe. Popsicle sticks in the air, 2 to go. Points on the line. It was Marinak. It was LeVere in 4th, Marinak in 5th, but that all might change as they come to the backstretch.
Yeah, 2 to go right now. I was 3 to go when I said 4 to go, but Mike Shelton also in this fight gets a big run off the high side. The 34 is going to probably look underneath the 4 when he can, but the 34 clears the 24 of Marinak, and they're single file right now on the outside line. There's nothing to show up front right now. They are all spread out. Bobby Terrell in control. CJ gets a little bit loose out of turn number 4. Shelton looks high, but the 4 car just running a really defensive line, and the 34 of Shelton cannot be happy with that. It's simply just too much blocking right there for the 34 to be happy with, as the 24 tries to capitalize, gets underneath the 4 of CJ LeVere, and it's a tight battle approaching turn number 3.
Final lap being scored right now. Final turns 3 and 4. Terrell, your winner. Chad Coleman 2nd. Jose Gonzalez 3rd. 24, the 4. This is the battle for points. This is the battle for position as they get to the start-finish line. Checker flag. It will be CJ LeVere 4th. Stefan Marinak 5th. Bobby Terrell walks away with the points lead, and CJ LeVere gets a slight advantage points-wise on Stefan Marinak, his teammate.
What an impressive win by Bobby Terrell. Now we saw that middle portion of the race. Chad Coleman found something and was able to get to the lead and control it for a little while, but then Terrell simply taking control late in the going. Think he might have moved his line around himself and found something to where he was able to keep this lead. But Bobby Terrell needed to come in here and do what he could to beat Stefan Marinak, and he did. So Terrell gonna get the points lead, gonna get the win.
Gonna get the points lead, gonna get the win as he burns them up now on the front stretch. Bobby Terrell, your winner here at Kansas, and it could not come at a more opportune time. He will take back the points lead, and he will take it back in a very convincing fashion with only a handful of races left to go in the RSR Asphalt Assault Series. Stay tuned, race fans. When we come back, it is the post-race show. We will talk to your top 3 drivers, go over points, and preview what is left to come in what's been an incredible season so far. Bobby Terrell, your winner. CJ LeVere finishing 4th. Stefan Marinac 5th. When we'll shake it all out, what it means when we come back to Kansas Speedway with the RSR Asphalt Assault B Series. Tune race fans, the post-race show is next.
Hey, JD here with ETV Live, and let me tell you something. If it's too big for the pickup truck and you need to move it, there's only one trucking company you need to call, and don't bother with the Yellow Pages Cowboy. I'll give you that number in a minute. Manufactured goods, automotive, technical equipment, furniture, even if you need a reefer, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated is the only choice, Cowboy. With locations in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, Rancho Cucamonga, California, if you need to move it, store it, and keep it cold, you need to call Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated. Long haul, short haul, or just across town, Gary Mercer has the best trained and qualified drivers to get your load from point A to point B with professionalism and on time. So remember, Hoss, if it don't fit in a pickup truck, you're going to need a real truck, Cowboy. Sponsors of ETV Live's Friday Night Showdown, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated, 1-800-668-2980.
Sponsoring the Thursday Night Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault Series, Inside Sim Racing, your first and best choice for all the news and reviews in online motorsports. Join Darren Gangi and John Cole for the latest and greatest in product reviews, simulation auto racing games for the PC and Xbox crowd, from steering wheels to full-size racing rigs, updates on popular racing games, and a whole lot more. It's the Yellow Pages of online auto racing. Inside Sim Racing has it all. Visit them at isrtv.com, sponsoring the Thursday Night Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault Series. What an incredible race we've had here at Kansas Speedway for the Asphalt Assault Series. Let's go ahead and give you the last lap, that battle between the 4 of CJ LeVere and the 24 of Stefan Marinac from the perspective of the fastest man in practice, the 34 of Mike Shelton. And you can see just how difficult, just how tight this battle is between these two drivers. There's a lot of respect between them being teammates on the same track. But that being said, they're also both running for points, and every point is critical. Every point matters, and it's going to matter a whole lot more as this season winds down. The 4, the 24, you watch him go side by side there. The 24 wanted the position. He wanted to try to stay as close to Bobby Terrell as he could, but it was just the 4 of CJ LeVere that was just that much stronger. Found it within him to get in front. Not by a whole lot, though. Not even only a handful of seconds, tenths of seconds, thousands of seconds for the 4 to pick up the 4th place position. Stefan Marinak finishes 5th. But right now, it's all about the man who finished up front, Bobby Terrell, your new points leader, winning tonight at Kansas. Harrison Weidlitz has caught up with him down at Victory Lane.
Yeah, I'm here with Bobby Terrell, and before we talk about points, I gotta say, Bobby, how fun was that? That looked out of control.
Man, it's like Chad said, I think that's probably the most fun that I've had in a really long time. I mean, that was so much fun racing with those guys, and you could change lines. I mean, the setup was really loose, but you could work it, and now I know why the pros run loose setups. I mean, it was really workable at different times.
Yeah, and looking at the strategy, we had that caution with about 30 laps to go, and I wondered if the guys would be keeping the fuel out of it to help it not rotate quite so much. Was there any strategy involved late in the go-in to keep the car from rotating too much?
Oh yeah, I'm sure you noticed the lap times. Yeah, I mean, that was I had done some testing, and I knew where the sweet spot was, and if I kept it there, I knew that it was going to be fast. I just didn't know which line to run sometimes.
Yeah, and looking at next week, I believe we head to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We head to Charlotte next week, and I tell you, very different from Kansas. How does that track differ? Both 1.5-mile speedways, but certainly you have to approach that a little bit differently than this week.
Oh yeah, I mean, we just I'll have to see what the setup is and how it feels, and different line. I mean, I won the last race here, but we're on a different build. I mean, everything changes, so we'll just have to see after practice how it goes.
Yeah, so looking at these other tracks, we've got about, by my calculations, about a 4 or 5 point lead heading into these final 5 races that we have left. Certainly Talladega is going to be a big question mark. But then we have another 1.5 miler with Texas, Phoenix, and Homestead. And how good do you feel about Phoenix and Homestead?
I feel real good about Phoenix and Homestead. I mean, Phoenix is one of my favorite tracks. I like those flat tracks, if you can't tell. And I've done well at Homestead too. So I'm looking forward to those races. Like I said, the only one I'm not looking forward to is Talladega.
Yeah, but I tell you, after last week, that pit road penalty merging too soon sort of hurt you in the points a little bit, but came in tonight certainly focused and got what you needed, which is that W. And so who makes it happen for you? Who would you like to thank?
I'd like to thank you guys up in the booth for the outstanding job you do. Laura for the cameras. I mean, it's excellent, guys. Inside Sim Racing for sponsoring it, and Hippie's Paint Shop. Real Sim Racing for putting it on, Derek Spear Designs, and my teammates. I appreciate it, guys. It's just so hard to win in here, and I'll take every one of them I can get.
Yeah, that's Bobby Terrell after a strong, victorious evening at the Kansas Speedway. I believe Joe Cortez has caught up with tonight's second-place finisher, Chad Coleman.
Chad Coleman, who led several laps on this field, finishing second tonight. Chad, let's very first talk about those closing laps between you and Jose Gonzalez. Very scary moments for you. What was going through your head as you saw Jose Gonzalez just try to overcorrect out there?
Jose was doing what he needed to do, trying to keep the position he had, and I went a little too hard too early. Got the right rear hot. Was trying to cool it off. Saved it a little bit, tried to get back after him, and looked like his car, he was going away right there a little bit. He might have got the right rear hot on his. And, yeah, we were just sliding around. Hell, it was a lot of fun. I had a blast racing tonight.
Tires seem to be the hardest part of managing your race out there. At one point, you said that the right rear was just torn up after that long green flag run where you caught Bobby Terrell. How hard was it to manage the tires underneath you, and how hard was it to keep that car moving in the right direction with those tires so badly trashed?
There were some moments to where it felt like it could have got away from you at any time, but I mean, for the most part, it was just fun actually sliding something around and, not having to about keeping a right front on it. You got to drive a little bit the right foot tonight, and that's always a lot of fun when you're able to do that. Me and Bobby, like you touched on a little bit right there too, me and Bobby had a great race earlier on in the run. It's a lot of fun racing with guys, racing with respect like that.
Walk us through those back and forth battles that you had midpoint of the race with Bobby Terrell. It looked like you guys were just having a blast out there, just challenging each other. How hard was it on the cars, and how hard was it trying to keep it moving forward, knowing that you had such talented drivers behind you?
Yeah, I got in behind Bobby right there for a couple of laps and just tried to get us. Hopefully, we could stay in line and get away from the guys that was behind us. And I noticed we had about a 2-second gap, so I decided I'd go up there and have a little fun and race with him. And whatever the deal was with the setup and this track with these cars, everything just clicked. You could run whatever groove you wanted to on the track. I noticed he wanted to run through the middle, so I'd run up against the wall in 1 and 2 and get a big run, and then dive it into 3 and 4 on the bottom. And I mean, when you can do that, you can have great racing. I mean, you ain't got to worry about one guy being in one line and taking your spot. You go where they're not, and that made it so much fun. And then with the car being a little loose too, that they just added to it. It just made it a really fun race.
You've shown your mettle, your strength here at these 1.5 mile tracks. Looking forward at the next 5 races of this season. You've got 2 more 1.5 miles left to go. Charlotte next week, Texas in 3 weeks. How excited are you for those tracks, and how ready are you just to go out there and have some fun the next 5 races?
Yeah, I kind of left that other series that runs every other Tuesday that's going through some troubles right now just because it wasn't any fun anymore, and decided I'd come have some fun. So I hooked up with these guys, and I mean, it's been a blast. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, and looking forward to next season too. Hopefully somebody wants somebody to drive for them, and maybe they can find me a car. And but as far as the rest of the season goes, every track I like. I mean, Talladega's a bit of a crapshoot, but plate racing's kind of fun, and flat tracks are fun. Sliding around Phoenix will be a real good time. So, yeah, kind of looking forward to the rest of the series.
A lot of fun left to be had. Real quick, you live on a little bit of silly season stuff. Are you looking for a ride for next season?
As of right now, until Jimmy North lets me know a little something more, then yeah, I would definitely look for a ride in this series next season. Maybe Mondays as well.
Something I'm sure will be touched on next Tuesday in the BS Back Talk and Rewind show. More to be heard later on in this series. Chad, who makes it work for you?
Just a little bit there. Got to thank Jimmy North. He stepped up and paid for me to run the last couple of races of the season. Got to thank JD Laird painting the car. All of you guys, all the sponsors for this series. I'm not real sure of them. RSR. I think Bobby mentioned Inside Sim Racing. Got to thank you guys for a broadcast. I watched the Dover broadcast. It looked really good. And JD Laird for the paint scheme, if I forgot to mention his name. That's about it.
That is Chad Coleman in the 6 machine, finishing second tonight at this very difficult Kansas Speedway. Harry Wine, let's caught up with the man they call Tequila Joe, Jose Gonzalez, finishing third.
Yeah, Jose Gonzalez has only run about half the races on the schedule, but always a factor in the lead battle. 3 wins on the season, looking for the 4th, or maybe even the 5th or 6th before the season rounds out. But Jose, I tell you were making some big moves during this race. We saw 1 restart, you got 2 positions in 1 shot, and some real scary moments getting loose. Just how loose and how exciting was that race?
Yeah, I was totally unprepared for tonight. I didn't get much practice, and when I came in, just like, I don't know, 10 minutes before the race, I'm like, whoa, what is this? It was fun. I mean, you had to be on your toes the whole race, and early at the race, I was just riding and tried to get a feel of my car, and I'm very conscious of that I'm not on the points battle, so I'm pretty careful with that, and I just like to ride along my teammates and stuff. But then at the end, I was trying to catch Bobby, and it seems that as hard as I tried, I was just riding the same time, the same times, and I couldn't get to him, so I just started going low, going high, trying different lines. And what I did is I just got my right front very hot, and I smacked the wall because I got tight, very tight. I was probably the only tight car out there tonight.
Yeah, certainly when you run a race without practicing too much, spend a lot of it really just learning the track and car combination. And late in that going, trying to chase down Bobby, is there anything that, looking back now, that you could have done differently to compete with him for that win, looking back at the final run?
I don't think so. I mean, I was, by the end of the race, I had it, pretty much figured out. And maybe if I could have had it figured out earlier. but no, I mean, he was just fast. He was the fastest guy out there, and I try my best. I know at the end I got Chad went past me, and I wasn't really, it didn't bother me. I mean, I'm not in the points race, so I'm just trying to get the win,
Yeah, and looking at these final 5 races, we've got Charlotte, Talladega, Texas, Phoenix, and Homestead. Are you looking to show up at all 5 races? And if so, which tracks are you really looking forward to running?
I think I like them all. I think I had a win in Phoenix, and I really like the super speedways. If you don't get wrecked, of course, it's a crapshoot, as everybody calls it, and I'm very aware of that. But I really enjoy it, though. And I think if we get a teammate together, we could do good on that.
That was a nice podium finish, a 3rd place finish tonight. And who makes it happen for you? Who would you like to thank?
I'd like to thank Doug Wyatt of Hippie's Paint Shop, and Frank Coons, driver of the 48. He sponsors our Monday League with ACSO Sanitary in New Jersey. So give a shout out to Frank Coons. You've been coonsed.
Yeah, that's our 3rd place finisher tonight. Jose Gonzalez and Joe, I tell you, this was an incredible race to watch.
An incredible race and an even more incredible finish, especially for CJ Rivera, Stefan Marinac, and Mike Shelton. What an incredible finish for those 3 guys. And these guys are now showing on the track that they're leaving nothing left on the field. They're leaving everything out in the track. They're just making everything work out there, and they really want it at this point. They want to continue to just race as hard as they can to try to pick up as much position as they can out there with the season winding down. 5 races left in this season. We go next Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, to Charlotte Motor Speedway, 107 laps, followed by Talladega, followed by Texas, Phoenix, and the season finale in 5 weeks from now at Homestead, Miami, 110 laps. Harry, we've got a great race going up to the finish. 3 guys now in contention for that championship, all 3 showing their muscle here at Kansas: Stefan Marinac, Bobby Terrell, and CJ Rivera.
Yeah, and between Bobby Terrell and Stefan Marinac, that's pretty much a heads-up race all the way until we get to the checkered flag at Homestead. Those guys right on top of each other. CJ Rivera, you can't count him out, though. I believe he made up a couple of points tonight, Bobby Terrell back in the lead. So CJ Rivera picking up points on Marinac, not quite on Terrell, but any problems for those top 2, and CJ's back in the game just the same. And so these guys got to be on their toes. They got to be aggressive. And these final 5 races, it's going to be like a final restart. It's going to be like a shootout.
A shootout it will be when we go back to Green Flag Racing next week from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Of course, every week you can join the Cowboy, JD Webb, Jimmy North, and Evan Bosco, and the whole crew Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. for an hour of rewind, looking back at previous broadcast events, guest interviews, dramas, and topics never too hot to touch. The boys wrap it up in the BS and Back Talk segment with thoughts and opinions on some of the hot topics in the online racing arena. It's fun, it's entertaining, no rules, no BS. Rewind BS and Back Talk, 9 p.m. Tuesdays on ETV Live Radio, where I guarantee you they will be discussing this series in depth. Well, that will do it for our coverage here from the Kansas Speedway. On behalf of our entire production team, my partner Harrison Weilitz, our camera operator Laura Harrison, executive producer J.D. Webb. I am Joe Cortez, congratulating our number one finisher, Bobby Terrell, for his first place finish here at Kansas. We will see you next week from Charlotte Motor Speedway when we go back green flag racing one more time in the Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault Series. Good night, everybody, from Kansas.
Network. Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV Live, sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.